Welcome back, you guys, for the final part of our series on common and uncommon champions. We're going to take a look, of course, going into the index, coming down to the Nyreesan Union, looking at dwarves and shadowkin. So, you guys, hey, help me with the pronunciation. But only two factions here, still have two of these, which are hidden. If you are here, welcome on into the party for our beginners look at if there are any common champions that are definitely worth taking to 5 or even 6 star. We've definitely discovered a few. I will link parts 2 and 3. You can definitely go back in and see part 1 for all the champions we've covered so far, guys. Would love to hear your opinion. Tell me what you think. How do you feel about some of these champions, and have you run into champions from other factions that you have definitely fallen in love with, have an affinity for, if nothing else? We're going to look at dwarves and shadowkin. Not my easiest areas to kind of take a look at, but I'll definitely kind of put it all in one place for you. And let's see what we have. You can see we've hit a couple of rares on this particular account, but there are some uncommons down at the bottom. 3 of the 5 we pulled. Actually, all 5 I've had a little bit of experience with. I will tell you this. This is one of those factions where, as a beginner, you will be quick to discard your champions from this particular area. And there are a few reasons for that. A lot of the dwarves that we're going to run across have a extremely niche area within the game where they are most successful. You will not have a ton of hard hitters at the uncommon level. It's just not something that they're known for. I mean, they have a couple of void champions here. They have a couple of guys that, you will hear more about. And honestly, most of the people that I know who love this area, they're pulling legendaries at this point. I've heard, a couple of things on maybe 2 or 3 of the epics, but the dwarves is not the heaviest hitting, most loving area in the game. It's actually one of the factions that I wish they would kind of round out a little bit more. And we'll see why in just a second. Chemist is one I believe we pulled on this account so far, probably 3 or 4 times. Doesn't have very many reviews, so I don't think he's been around for too long. Kind of interesting there. I like how my little guy looks, if nothing else. Now, with dwarves, kind of the expectation is you want them to come in and be extremely hard hitters. So he comes with us with 2 skills. Trick Saw is going to be number 1, attacks 1 enemy 2 times. You can multiply this damage by 25%. And of course, he has Alchemic Stunner. Or Alchemic Stunner. Attacks 1 enemy, has a 15% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. This chance increases to 30% if the target's HP is below 50%. For as many times as we pull them, guys, 7 dupes is going to be a lot. But the chemist for me so far has been food. He is one of those. I wouldn't be shocked no. This is what I was looking for, Faction Wars. I was wondering what we thought Faction War wise. Only 44 ratings in that area. You guys can kind of take the ratings however you would like. But Chemist, early game, whenever I do Faction Wars for dwarves, so far I've just been skipping it. It's probably something I'll come back to later, but this guy is going to be food. Line infantry. This is another guy, pretty stunning on the redness, feeling it. Love that weapon too, and that shield. Just look at the detail. Like sometimes you got to stop and just kind of look at the art and appreciate it for what it's worth. But line infantryman for me so far has been food each time he's popped up. A lot of the doors are going to have their start off moment, their first attack. Spirit Gold is no different, with only attacking 1 enemy. And I think this is one of the things that limits their flexibility on what types of teams they can serve with. It's something that doesn't really make you search them out. And especially for their uncommons, I've noticed it across the board. The attack 1 enemy is kind of annoying. The number of dupes books that are needed for this champion is a little bit high as well, especially when you're only doing a 10% chance of placing a provoke debuff, which you have a lot of provoke champions to kind of pick from. Rebel Rouser is that second attack. He's going to attack 2 times at random. Not really impressed. If you've seen part 3 video, there were a number of champions that will definitely give you that provoke. And it's all based on his defense, of course. Can do that 1-turn cooldown. But again, a large number of duplicates or books, and I would not invest in this particular champion. Icebound Prospector. This guy looks kind of interesting. Kind of expect, maybe by the look, by the aesthetic, you really expect these guys to come in and be some heavy hitters, like some nukers in here. Frosty Pick attacks 1 enemy. It's always the biggest downfall. You can't increase the damage by 20%. I wonder if he would be unique in Faction War. Attacks 1 enemy for the second attack. Noggin Knocker has a 15% chance of placing a stun debuff. Can take it down on that 1-turn cooldown. Oh, we've come out of my icebound. Let's go back. There we go. Let's look at reviews. Not great. Dragon Slayer, he's okay. Minotaurs, Magic Keep, but not even in Faction Wars is he kind of blowing your mind. It's only a 3.9. So like a lot of my other dwarves at this particular level, just not impressed. Slicer, I have pulled him several times along the way. It's one of those guys, still has that attack 1 enemy with a 20% damage increase possible. Decreases the cooldown of the cut apart skill by 1 turn if this attack kills an enemy. So he's able to use his second cut apart, which only attacks 1 enemy again, needs 7 books, 7 duplicates, has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Not impressed, not impressed at all. So it's kind of why these guys very much so ends up being automatic food. Tunnel Steward is another one. I was hoping when I pulled him that he would come with a little umph. Wasn't really impressed with the base HP. Vermin Killer attacks 1 enemy. Oh, it's like the death of this particular faction. Has a 25% chance of placing a 2.5% poison debuff. We talked about this 2.5%, which for the buff debuff, they will let you always add like 10% to it. I just really wish it was like 7.5, 9, like 10.5. An increase in percentage would be nice for the 2 turns. If you don't have that poison, of course, there are several areas, common and uncommon. You can definitely find it. Even on his second attack, he's going to only attack 1 enemy. Guys, the number of duplicates and books is kind of excessive for me. Has a 50% chance of increasing the duration of 2 random debuffs on the target by 1 turn. When it comes to Tunnel Steward, I've even tried to put him on a team and kind of drag him along in campaign to star him up and kind of see what he does. Once or twice, I've taken a chance and put a couple of artifacts on him just to get through the first 2 or 3 battles in Faction Wars. And most of the orcs are the same. They're not going to be your fastest. Even if you look at his speed, he's not like the slowest champion around. Even with them hitting, though, having to know that you need 5 champions going in that are only going to hit 1 enemy at a time, it's not very exciting. If they had a couple of attacks where they were hitting more than 1 champion, I would definitely be more impressed. But all these guys for dwarves, for me, so far are going to be food. Last but not least, in our tour through all things faction, we go to Shadowkin. Shadowkin is one of those areas I would really love to get excited about, but you just simply don't pull from this faction very often. I'm assuming it's because it's new. We've still got this guy marked Conscript, which I love their look, but I'll be honest, their uncommon champions I am not impressed with. Peasant's Bow attacks 1 enemy 2 times. Honestly, anybody who comes out of Shadowkin, I do expect a little bit more. Can't really tell you why. The multipliers aren't bad. I mean, you can increase the damage by 25%. And then he has, is this Fusillade? Guys, help me out on that one. Attacks 1 enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a 15% weakened debuff for 2 turns. You can take this from a 4 down to a 2-turn cooldown, which could be worth it. I mean, it's attack base. his kit doesn't really provide him with anything that I will be unable to get from another champion. And I want to say that's kind of where these fall. As far as campaign, I can think of a couple other campaigners you probably have by now. Most beginning accounts, whoever your first epic champion will be, is normally one of your league campaigners. And that's just being honest. Either it's going to be the first champion you started with, whether you did Gaelic, Kale, Elhain, or Ethel, whoever you pick, Ethel, but or it's going to be their first epic. I kind of just maxed them out and let them run. Arena is another area, depending on how involved you are. I can definitely see with Faction Wars, if you were starting to get in there, it just opened and you just kind of want to collect what you could. But everyone else is kind of niche. He may be more impressive as people keep pushing through. He's still under 100 ratings. But for right now, he's not going to hit the must be done for a 5 or a 6 star. Last but not least is Infiltrator. He is another champion. Comes with a shank, attacks one enemy. That can be increased in damage by 25%. And then on his second attack, he's still attacking only that one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 50% chance of placing a 2.5% poison debuff for 2 turns. Can take it from a 4 to a 2-turn cooldown, even add 20% in damage. I'm a little bit more impressed with this one, but I would prefer to see all enemies being attacked. And I think for uncommon champions, and Shadowcat is probably their biggest limiter. So for me, all uncommon and commons in this area would actually be a no-go. Now, we're looking at levels of champions, for example, guys, you've got to continuously go back and kind of see where your team of champions are. And don't butcher me here. Of course, we're beginning game, and artifacts, quality artifacts are going to be the name of the game. Kind of hard to come by as well. But as I'm going through just the champions we've chosen to keep, and I'll be honest, even starting with Elhain for me on this particular account was different. I like her. Her and Sniper both do a lot of the same things, but I've noticed that her ability to just kind of stay alive. I want to go through and really focus on mastery. So I know the Minotaur area is one dungeon. I plan on hitting kind of hard, because even with my other champions that are just commons and uncommons who come into play, it's nice to, prepare them and increase their percentages in every area that I can. Deliana is running on most of my teams currently. I definitely want to run some dungeons with her, go in artifact wise. The miscreated monster, we will go through all rares, which will probably take us a nice little while. There are quite a few rares that I'm extremely impressed with. I've heard from several people they're even good mid and end game, so they're worth investing in. The other thing is about epics, because epics tend to be, boosted a little bit as you go along. But Miscreated Monster, we have another video on him. If you have not seen it, definitely go through the playlist and kind of take a look, because it's nice when you run into those champions that you just don't expect. He was one that it's my first account actually working with him. We'll look at, so we talked about Shield Guard. He's one of my uncommons that I highly recommend getting up to level. We have him at 5-star currently. We'll definitely be taking him to a 6 and working through his masteries. I would love to max him out across the board. I've been extremely impressed with him as far as just the hard hitting going in. And you guys can see he definitely has most areas where he kind of shines through. He can be niche depending on where you are, but I find him extremely helpful in dungeons so far as where I use him the most. We'll look at Gear Grinder. He's one of my rare champions. And we'll talk about Void champions, because there's an expectation on Void champions that I want to do more research in, but I definitely want to do a video on, because the perception of how good Void champions should most definitely be has been really impressive to me. But we'll talk about that one. Sniper, of course, is my uncommon. As you guys can see, I've ascended her already 4 stars. Would most definitely recommend locking this girl in. She can absolutely be worth it. I've had the privilege of playing with her up to a level 50, 5-star ascended, and I'm impressed. I plan on taking her to 6-star on both of my accounts. War Maiden, we'll get to her in rare. She is campaign farmable, guys. So don't forget each rare video. I may actually go in and only do maybe 2 factions at a time, or we just may make them longer videos and do several. Aphil is one of your possible leading champions. If you don't pick her, which we did not, of course, start off with her, but we did pick her from a shard. We'll talk about her in rare. I can kind of see a couple of opinions on her, but I want to get a little bit more experience just running her. I do currently have her running as my lead champion on a 3rd account. So it's been a little bit different there as well. Zephyr Sniper is one of those uncommons that we talked about. You guys can see she is 4-star on this account, 1-star ascended. I'm currently running her through some of the crypts to help me get a few potions. She's nice. I'm going to actually run her on a team, which is kind of redundant, I know, but I just want to see what it looks like. Elhain, Deliana, Sniper, and then her. And I think that they would do some pretty amazing stuff, especially you slap a healer in there with them. It may be pretty interesting. So we'll run. I'll show a couple of videos on that one, and we'll just kind of see how it goes. I'm definitely keeping Arcanist. She's a rare that we'll definitely talk about in the rare series that I run, and then we'll do epics. I can't really help you guys too much on legendary. Don't have very much experience there, but I think rares, we're far enough in, probably on my first account, that we can get some good information per faction there. We talked about Armiger, one of those uncommons. I actually had to pick between him and probably two or three others in sacred order. Took a lot of sacrificing, but I think in game, in very niche little areas, Armiger is definitely going to come in handy. I do not use him a large amount now, but he's one of those. I'll keep him around for a little bit. Last but not least, on my top 9 so far for this particular count is Wervenbane. We're holding on to her actually because of her setback abilities. Really impressed, even though it's only attacking one enemy, has a 35% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 20%. And the other thing that I'm looking forward to is she has HP burn. She will actually be my first champion that I've had that possesses that skill. So that's kind of what allowed her to be locked in. The rest of these champions are just kind of sitting in their food positions, and we will add and take away to that one. We're going to finish out today's video just by doing a ancient shard pool. Why not? I should probably wait till I have double the chance, but you guys know right now we're doing a little champion hunting just to kind of see what pops up. We get Fencer. Not really sure about Fencer. And not really impressed aesthetically. This is a rare pool. So Fencer is coming to us with an enchanted rapier. Attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 15% chance of placing a 15% debuff for 2 turns. And she's going to require 6 of those illustrious books. For Pummel, second attack, attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. You can ascend this, and that 75% chance still remains, but then steals 20% of the target's turn meter if the stun debuff is not placed. So it's kind of that backup there. Blade Flourish attacks all enemies. I really wish this was on her second attack as well. Has a 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased defense debuff on turns. She's attack based, can take this down to a 3-turn cooldown. Last but not least, 23% increased ally attack in dungeons, and Fencer's kind of average. So not really excited on this rare pool unless I am missing something. 478 reviews, so she hasn't been around very long, but okay. Hitting in mid-4s, so can't complain. I guess Little Fencer, we will kind of see what she does and see exactly where she falls. Something else I usually go back and do is kind of see where, when they insert them into the pool, she falls. And so with 3-star, we'll buck her up to 4 and just kind of see how she does. So we'll probably upgrade her and pour in our other 3 and then move her up. And the thing about this system that I'm kind of using, I wanted to only 60 out both of my top champions first, and you guys see how that kind of goes. But you have to move up the rank. And if you're able to make it up to that 5-star level, then you're probably going to stick around with me a little bit longer than everybody else. But hey, if you have made it this far, thank you so much for coming in, taking a deeper look at the index itself. You can definitely see some areas where hopefully we get some champions that will fill in for us. Don't forget to subscribe. We will go ahead and begin that next series, taking a look at rare champions. I'm trying to see how many of those are as impressive as we believe they should be. We'll probably look at maybe 2 factions at a time that'll fill us out to a video just to keep us from being a little too long. I am Wicked Raider 22. It's always nice hanging out with you guys. Leave a comment. Whether you agree or disagree, if we didn't agree on someone, let me know. And I'll talk to you guys soon.